This is a special edition of the Mike Gallagher Show, Coronavirus in America.
We're using the full power of the federal government to defeat the virus, and that's what we've been doing.
For a while, life is not going to be the way it used to be in the United States.
As we face this national emergency pandemic, now's the time for knowledge and clarity. And this is the place to get it.
We're going into a full crisis footing. This is a wartime dynamic. We have to think about helping each other in different ways.
The president made very decisive decisions quickly.
2020 is definitely going to be one for the history books. And as we take it all in, we know that we'll get through this together. We're America. And now, here's Mike.
I made a commitment never to promise to give you good news if there's not good news. I'm not going to pretend that something is better than it is. We are still in the thick of things. It's Thursday, April the 23rd, and jobless claim filings in America, as expected, continue to surge at a historically unprecedented pace. 4.4 million new signups for unemployment insurance this past week. We now have over 26 million people. Of course, those are only the people that make it through the system. Lots of people unemployed. That number is far greater than 26.4 million people. The president yesterday sort of shocking the country and the world with his opinion of Governor Kemp in Georgia reopening too soon.
I told the governor of Georgia, Brian Kemp, that I disagree strongly with his decision to open certain facilities which are in violation of the Phase 1 guidelines for the incredible people of Georgia. They're incredible people. I love those people. They're great. They've been strong, resolute, but at the same time, he must do what he thinks is right. I want him to do what he thinks is right. But I disagree with him on what he's doing, but I want to let the governors do. Now, if I see something totally egregious, totally out of line, I'll do. But I think spas and beauty salons and tattoo parlors and barber shops in Phase 1, we're going to have Phase 2 very soon, is just too soon. I think it's too soon.
Now, you know how much I support this president. I admire him. I pray for him daily. I cannot believe the way this crisis has revealed him to be the combative, smart, savvy, aggressive, pro-American president that we elected. But I would respectfully, gently push back in this way. It's real simple it's real easy to say, you know what, what's a tattoo parlor got to do with essential activity? Well, ask that of the tattoo parlor employee. Because you know what's essential to a tattoo parlor employee? Being able to feed his family. And when we get kind of fixated on the type of service that is reopening in Georgia or South Carolina or Ohio or Florida or California or anywhere else, we're forgetting the reason to open up the economy again. I'm really, really surprised, actually, although I also know that the president qualified his disagreement with Governor Kemp by saying, but the governors get to do what they decide to do. He has had great praise for Governor Kemp in the past. I don't think that's going to stop anytime soon. He likes this governor, but he disagrees because he's following his gut that believes we should stay sort of essentially, lockdown is maybe the wrong phrase, but sort of dramatically mitigating for another few weeks. I mean, I know what he's saying, and I think there are millions of Americans who share that sentiment. Few more weeks. We got to get through at least April, maybe May, maybe a week or two in May. And when you say that, that's easy for somebody with a job to say. You can sit there and say, you got to hang in there for a few more weeks if you get a paycheck. If you don't get a paycheck, if you're standing in line at a food bank like the vet was, who got into 2 lines yesterday, I think in San Diego. He waited hours and hours in one line. When he finally got to the front of the line, they told him, sorry, we ran out of food. This is a guy who's a veteran. He served our country in Iraq. Got in another line, waited another 4 or 5 hours, got to the front of that line and was turned away. Sorry, we ran out of food. And he looked into the camera and he said, with tears in his eyes, my kids are hungry. We're going to do something about this, by the way. We're going to try. Team Gallagher is going to mobilize, and I've been thinking and praying about this. I am so worried about starvation and hunger, and yes, it's happening. You can no longer pretend that we don't have an issue of starvation and hunger in our own country, and this, of course, is putting a spotlight on it, and it's going to get worse. I saw a report yesterday on ABC saying upwards of 12 to 18 million children are going to go hungry. They're going to go to bed with their stomachs growling, their tummies growling, because mommy and daddy, maybe they work at a tattoo parlor and they're not allowed to go back to work. Maybe their father or mother is in prison. And we have been working very hard, and I have been intensifying this. I'm going to tell you right now, get ready, because I'm going to ask you to open up your heart in a week or two. We're putting all the finishing touches on a campaign to deliver food to children in at-risk communities, notably the sons and daughters, the little children of prisoners in America. An American project for American children. You did it last year in a very different ask. This year, the ask is going to be dramatically different, but it is the same beautiful ministry that we're going to ask you to support. Because we got to there's things we can do. There are lots of things that people are doing. We do it in our own way. In our own way. If we're blessed, if we're lucky, if we have a job, if we have a decent job that pays well, while other people are suffering, you do it in a variety of ways. You get online constantly and you make donations to different organizations that you can help. You go to every single, if you're a single, widowed guy by himself, kind of isolated and talking to his kids on Zoom every night, and you eat out a lot, you eat out even more, even while trying to lose weight, by the way, thank you. And I have. Thank you very much. And you go crazy patronizing the local restaurants in your neighborhood that are trying to stay open, that have the makeshift signs in the window saying, please, we're open, take out, carry out, and you take out every night, and you give them a $20 tip or whatever you can afford, and you see their faces just light up. Thank you for supporting us. There's so many ways we can be helping right now. This is difficult. This is very difficult. But listen, I'm going to ask you to try to shake off the hysteria in the mainstream media over President Trump strongly disagreeing with Governor Kemp. He can do that. I feel terrible for Governor Kemp because as more people contract the virus in Georgia, and they will, and more people die in Georgia, and they will, the media will treat those deaths as if Brian Kemp pulled the trigger himself. It's just going to happen. If there's no way around that. I wish I could tell you there was a way around it. There won't be. I know it. You know it. Governor Kemp knows it. And President Trump knows it. This is one of these difficult times in this awful chapter where there's no easy answer and there's no comfortable solution here. Ultimately, Americans are going to have to start making decisions. If you are terrified of exposure and you're able to stay home, stay home. Nobody's not making you stay home. Nobody's making you go out. If you can't feed your family and you're losing everything, including maybe your home, the inability to put food on the table, your kids are hungry and you're scared and you got to work, well, I don't think it's unreasonable, and I pray I'm not saying the wrong thing because I have worked very hard to be responsible in every one of my words during this pandemic on this radio show. I feel a heavy responsibility to try to get it right every day, every minute of every hour of every day. I don't, if you're going to fault me for saying this, that's fine. That's why we have a phone number at 800-655-Mike. If you are in desperate straits and you need income and you're not getting it anywhere else, I think you have to take the risk and mask up and glove up, do everything you can to try to be safe and stay safe, but you probably have to get a job if you are in that position, because the alternative is unthinkable, to lose everything that maybe you've worked for all your life. And that is an awful choice to make between exposure to what can be a deadly virus or your family's livelihood. It's very tough. And all I can do, I wish I had easier answers. I don't. I just want to welcome you in on this Thursday. We're making it now. Look at this. It's almost another week. Tomorrow's Friday. It's April the 23rd. One day closer to putting this all behind us. But we are in the thick of it now, my friend. And I hope that you're hanging in and that we are lifting each other up like I hope we are always doing. 1-800-655-Mike is our toll-free number. Here in the ReliefFactor.com mobile studios, back in my kitchen, working from home again, and welcoming you in to another edition of the Mike Gallagher Show. 1-800-655-Mike. Press 1 to come on air with us. Press 2 to leave a voicemail message for us. You can always text us your comments to the MyPillow text line, which is also 800-655-6453. Your voice, your perspective, your call, all coming up on the Mike Gallagher Show.